What is up, y'all? Kevin Kuhn here from Athlete Factors. This is the Athlete Factors podcast. My guest today is Sergio Reyes. How's it going, man?
Pretty good, Kevin. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Our initial overlap is that we're both alums of Cedarville University, both cross country and track athletes there. But I think you graduated before I started. So tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll kind of get into some of the cool things that have been happening lately. But first and foremost, where are you from? All of that.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm originally from the Central Coast of California, a little place called San Luis Obispo. Just lived in that county, grown up there my whole life. Started out at running at a very young age, like 2.5, 3. Just kind of doing it for fun and whatnot. I think I saw results from a race when I was like maybe 6 or 7. I think that might have been my first initial race, but I did it for a few years and then kind of quit, and then really didn't get into it again until I was like 16 years old. Then started really finding it enjoyable once again, and I think that's basically right about the time where I entered into a community college, and then joined the team there. So I went to Cuesta College in San Luis Obispo, ran for a couple of years when I was 17 and 18 years old there, and then I transferred to Cedarville University to finish. Once I had all my prerequisites out of the way, went and focused on engineering at Cedarville University, graduated there, and then basically immediately afterwards moved back to California and started training with the group that I've been a part of for the last 18, 19 years now. So I've been training with them, and that's probably where I saw the bulk of my growth in the sport. So came a long ways, saw it fully mature, saw some really great times on the track and on the roads that I was happy with. And now I'm at a newer stage of my life where I'm just really just enjoying it, just having a lot of fun with it. And still anxious to see what else I can do, what other barriers I might be pursuing or trying to break. So yeah, that's just a little bit of background on me.
That's awesome. So I was able to interview a few guys from Cedarville, Daniel Mahalski, who he competed in the steeplechase, and then Joe Nemec, who also competed in the U.S. Olympic Trials Marathon. So I've been meaning to get you on for a minute, but you know how life goes. And then I was actually looking at I'm getting up there in age as well, so I was looking like, okay, when can I start Masters USATF stuff? And then lo and behold, I'm checking out the results just this past week from USA Track and Field, the cross country championships, and lo and behold, I see some guy finish, and he's like a minute ahead of everybody else, and it's you. So congrats on that, man. That's a really big deal, man.
Thanks. It's this is the fun part, right? Like your career gets reinvigorated, right? You all of a sudden get a new start, clean slate, and you get to compete with this new group of folks who have also been doing it for quite some time. And it seems like you may have a little bit of an advantage in that you're just a little bit younger, which is completely opposite from how it used to be. Like growing up, right? It was always like, well, that kid's in high school or whatever. He's like a year older, or like, well, how old is he, right? He's 2 years older. I'm like, don't worry if he beat me by a few seconds, right? Now it's the other way around, right? So like you're like, oh, that guy's 2 years younger. Well, then okay, he's got the advantage, right? So, but I'm at the bottom of the spectrum, right? Just entering that new stage. So it's like, I get the advantage, right? So or if you want to think of it that way. So it's kind of fun, looking forward to see where I can go with that.
Yeah. So do you get any like snide remarks from everybody else, like you're the young gun, or like you're like the baby of the group now, because you're what, 40?
Yep, yep. So, no, I think a few folks saw this coming. Like, you think last year or the year before, they were like, "Are you there yet?" I'm like, "No, no, you still got another year." They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna hate running next year, right?" And so, those in that small group of circles that have seen this coming are like, "Ah, he stayed with it. He stayed fit. We were afraid of this, but that's okay. We'll just wait for another guy after him to come up, and hopefully he'll be on our team or our squad or whatever else." So, round and round we go. So it's fun.
It's the cycle of life.
Yep.
Can't be on top forever, right?
Nope.
That's the way running goes. So, um, yeah, I cannot wait until Masters cross country. Like, I'm super excited about it right now. I gotta wait 5 more years. So
It'll be here before you know it. You got to just stay patient.
exactly. So, um, before I forget, I got to throw this out there. Like, I had probably like 6 or 8 classes with your sister Christina at Cedarville. Like, I mean, we were on the same team together, but like it just worked out since we were both, ex phys majors. Like, we had like all kinds of classes together, and yeah, we were. I think partly because of running, but like the sport of running, I think forces you to be better with your time. You've got to be disciplined with your time. You've got to be really, I think, type A when it comes to certain things. And so, whereas other sports, maybe they pick exercise science because they think it's going to be easy. Like, Christine and I were pretty serious about how we did in all of our classes. So, we ended up, yeah, studying together quite a bit outside class as well. And yeah, I haven't talked to her in forever. So that's crazy. But
Small
yeah,
world when it comes to
yeah,
running, and even more at a smaller school for sure.
that's very true. So give us, I feel like you brushed over your time at Cedarville as far as running goes a little bit. Like, you were no slouch. So tell us a little bit about your collegiate running career.
Yeah, sure. I didn't mean to like go over it too fast or whatever, but honestly, a lot of that starts to get lost in the haze as far as memories go. I mean, it was
Hmm.
3 years. I remember like really only the best of it, and so I had a positive experience from it. I enjoyed it. I remember it being a lot of fun. I'll always remember that part of it. But like, the details on times and performances or races won. I'm kind of at a loss. I struggle to remember, like, was I competitive? Yes, I kind of have a sense that I was, but
Hmm.
like we were also NAIA and we only competed against the D2, D1 schools at like open meets,
Hmm.
all Ohio and things of that nature. So I don't remember exactly, I think I was maybe second or maybe first at all Ohio meets.
Uh-huh.
Somewhere up there, but
Yeah.
um, it's kind of difficult to say. Yeah, I had a few school records, but
Hmm.
since have pretty much all been destroyed. So good on Cedarville, right? It really, they developed and recruited more talent, and it was great
Hmm.
to see that those records have continually fallen. So there's not much of a lasting mark that I made there, which is
Hmm.
fine by me. But it's
Yeah.
again, just the memories that I take of it were positive. So, I mean, I can't really elaborate much beyond. I do know winning the 10K. I do remember that at the NAI national championships there. So,
Yeah.
um, I faintly remember it. Competitive, rainy, cold, whatever. Finish. Super excited, super elated. I was, um, you know, definitely checking the box on some of my goals for the year and everything. So, um,
Hmm.
you know, those are the kind of things that I remember. But beyond that, like, individual titles or races won or whatnot, I don't remember. And you know,
Gotcha.
it's difficult to, it's
Sure.
not as fresh in my mind anymore. But, I remember the people, I remember the
Hmm.
coaches, right? Who I'm
Hmm.
sincerely thankful that they were, in my life helping me develop as a runner and as a person. And more than anything else, I really do treasure the relationships and friendships made with other teammates. Like you said, you definitely in the sport of running, you are going to draw closer to those in that circle. And,
Hmm.
I have for years since been able to maintain those relationships. So it's great from that, right? From that aspect, to continue to have those people close in your life. So, and sharing those stories and, odd, uh, you know, uh, all the odd habits and, routines that we've all, gotten accustomed to that most
Hmm.
people think is just most bizarre, but other runners can understand and relate.
For sure. Yeah. One of the things that you mentioned about, um, like records will come and go, and like memories kind of get a little blurry about, like I can't remember my times from specific races. But like, okay, did you know Coach Scott?
Yep.
Was Coach Scott when you were okay? He's like the only guy who, like, he would walk up to me and be like, "Hey, you remember that one race when you were a junior in high school at that meet at that one school?" And like, he'd like name all this stuff out, and he's like, "And you ran this time, but then you came back a couple hours later and you ran the mile." And I'm like, "Coach Scott, no, I don't remember any of that." Like,
Yeah.
but like he could remember the craziest stuff.
Yep. I've met quite a few of those that can just randomly pull them out of a year in time, right?
Yeah.
And just be able to like say, this is, and they'll usually be within like 2 or 3 seconds. They'll be pretty
Hmm.
accurate, right? They won't be like
Yeah.
minutes off or anything.
Yeah.
But it's amazing that they're, they've lived in the sport,
Hmm.
wholeheartedly. So
For sure. Yeah. So, uh, tell us a little bit about, kind of, you said, after you left Cedarville, like, how did you connect with the team or the group that you've been training with ever since?
yeah. So came back and I just happened to I came back to where I grew up, same town, little town Los Osos, just outside San Luis Obispo there. And San Luis Obispo is a running community of um, previous Olympians, previous like I would just call idols in the sport, right?
Hmm.
And so we have always had that like close knit. We've seen each other at races and whatnot. There's whether they're athletes or coaches or both. Um, there's that really tight knit running community in San Luis Obispo, which I was fortunate to be a part of. So after college, Coach Rubio, Joe Rubio, he um, saw me at a road race and said, "Hey, you should be looking to join up now. We have this post collegiate running team. We have workouts on these days and whatnot. And why don't you come by?" And so I did, and it was a good fit.
Hmm.
Instantly, it worked well. Obviously, just being local, and gave me objectives to really strive for. Races to get to, times to run, people to train with, workouts to follow. And I mean, it made my job really just that much easier, right? I didn't have to like go outside my swim lane to figure out, who's going to coach me, what do I do,
Hmm.
how do I run today, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I just kind of it was kind of just there in front of me, and I joined, and then I had fun with it. Like I got to certain races, I got to compete nationally, and
Hmm.
I got to see a lot of teammates come and go over the years, but like uh, you know draw from each other's energy through workouts, and you know also establish really good friendships that have lasted for almost 2 decades now with those guys. So
Hmm.
it was kind of an easy transition from college into post collegiate running in that sense. And, a huge thanks to the sponsorships over the years that have managed to keep our running club going, because we have
Hmm.
a pretty good longevity in our club, and as compared to other clubs that are around the US. And so it's great that we've always had that sponsorship, and that support to keep us, going, give us the gear we need, the travel,
Hmm.
the funding and all that stuff. So, I had no reason to look elsewhere really, even though a few things came up here and there, but it was like, I was content to stay with the group that had supported me from the start. So, I
Yeah.
guess I'm a little sucker for loyalty in that regard. That's how
Yes.
I tend to be. But I mean, it's worked, and I've been happy with it. So
Yeah. Well, it beats having to pack everything up and move to somewhere where, maybe you don't have friends and family and you kind of have to start over. And if things don't go well, then like, all right, now what do I do? Do I look for something else or do I go somewhere? Like, so that's really nice that, it was kind of like, this is a no brainer. It's like,
Yeah.
it's right here, all here right for me. So that's really
Hmm.
amazing. That's so cool. Um, yeah, I just recently had on um, Jacob Thompson. He's from Kentucky, and he just like he does most of his training in Flagstaff, but he's traveling. He's like traveling all over, and he recently signed a deal with Under Armour, and so he before that, I think he was just kind of going from place to place, not like all over the US, but he did a little stint in Boston to see if he liked it there. And, he liked it there, but he wanted to do some altitude training. And so he kind of had to, he was in a position where he was like, I'm not sponsored, so I'm going to see what I like. And then once I find what works best for me, like that's where I'll, kind of settle and just train there. And so, yeah, he kind of had to figure that out. And it was like, boom, silver platter. Here you go, Serge.
Yep. Pretty much.
That's so awesome. So, uh, so we kind of glossed over that, not glossed over, but we hit that you recently competed in the last U.S. Olympic trials. So how many big races like on that level, like either Olympic trials or like a USA Nationals type of competition? How many of those roughly have you been able to be a part of?
Yeah. Good question. So I think starting back in 2005, well, I guess so US road championships are a little easier to get into. The qualifying standards for those aren't extremely difficult. So I've been fortunate to get into those like I think as soon as I graduated from college. So US road championships pretty prevalent. I have a lot of those under my belt, but definitely have been fortunate to get around to all those different ones across the country. Track championships, beginning in 2005, I started hitting standards on the track to get me into the US championships, track and field championships. So always a 10K, never did the 5K. So
Mhm.
I mean, I raced the 5K, but wasn't fast enough on that. So did that for several years. Oh 05, oh 06, oh 07, 10, 11. I think I did about five from what I recall.
Mhm.
And kind of the same result each time, like going into it thinking like, hey, I'm competitive, I made it, like that was the goal, right? But then
Mhm.
you get in the race and it becomes highly tactical, and you maybe with the group for a little bit, but then they've got some killer kicks for the last mile, and so it's like bye bye and try not to get lapped or whatever. So it's it was a good experience, right? But that's
Sure.
probably why I stopped after a while, focusing on track and finding my strength more so on the road, especially the marathon. So
Mhm.
um, uh, beyond that, other U.S. championships, so road, track, cross country. Again, anybody pretty much can enter those. So did
Mhm.
both club cross country championships almost religiously, like almost every year. Missed a few
Mhm.
here and there, but did a lot of those over my time since graduating college. And then open cross, again, a handful of times, maybe five, I don't know.
Mhm.
Never placing high enough to make a squad on any of those. Really, the only one that um, kind of stands out is winning the U.S. Marathon Championships, and it's quite a while ago at this point, but winning that, monumental, big breakthrough for me, and then you know qualifying to make the U.S. team afterwards, which was awesome because got to go to the World Championships in Daegu
Mhm.
in 2011 and represent the country there. And so that kind of like fulfills a lot of dreams right there, right? Running
Sure.
for your
Yeah.
country,
Mhm.
having the flag and just doing that aspect of it is just it's pretty cool. Highlights of my career, got me to a point where I was like, content with accomplishments in the sport. And so everything else was like, butter, right? Gravy, whatever you want to say, icing on the cake. It was just amazing to be able to accomplish those things and still keep going, right? Continue to like
Mhm.
PR, like, maybe not make a US team or anything, but hit, personal goals, right? And still continue to accomplish, big stuff that only I'm really, concerned about. I don't care what everyone else thought, but like,
Mhm.
setting new goals and, running a half marathon PR or a marathon PR or a 10-mile PR, or,
Mhm.
whatever it may be. So those kind of things were, enough to keep me going and believe that I could still accomplish, whatever I set out to do. Um, so yeah, and then beyond that, Olympic trials for no, I'm not counting. Yeah, I'm counting right. Four of them: 7, 2012, 2016, and 2020. Yeah, so four Olympic trials in the marathon, and each time having a slightly different result, but pretty much still just staying competitive, but not quite high enough to break into that top three. Um, so yeah, it's been a fun ride, and
Mhm.
now I'm at a stage where it's like, okay, I don't need the pressure of like trying to do it because this might be my last go or anything like that.
Mhm.
Like now it's just kind of like do what you want to do, enjoy all aspects of the sport, whether that's like doing an ultra or doing a
Mhm.
trail race or something else, right? Like
Yeah.
I just find enjoyment in experiencing other aspects of running that I hadn't really even contemplated before. So, off the pressure of running around the oval against the clock, right? Off the pressure of, even trying to set a an absolute lifetime best in a particular distance, right? Rather, it's like, okay, you can still be really competitive in this new stage. Um, you know, See where you want to go with that.
Yeah, it's I think about this often. Like, maybe um 20, 30, 50 years ago, like once you reached a certain age, like, hey, your career's over. Like, step aside. Like, maybe even stop competing altogether. Like, like you're done. But like what's amazing is that now we have all these different levels of competition that are extremely competitive, which I'm really excited about. Like, I mean, okay, so what was your time last weekend?
Oh,
Like low
in cross country,
26s,
it was
right?
like
Yeah.
26, 30 something, 37, 30, yeah, 26, 37 maybe. Which, I mean, it's cross country, right? So you have no idea if that's like a good time for an 8K, 8K
Yeah.
ish. It was a little more
Yeah.
than 8K. But I mean, it's cross country, right? And so,
Yeah.
like, I mean, to me, it seemed super slow. I was like, I thought I was in better shape than, like, I'm not even running 5 minute miles here, like on this
Yeah.
flat, green, like short grass cross country course. And, talk to another guy in the race afterwards. And he's like, oh, no, it's much slower this year. I'm like, how do you gauge that? And he's like, see that section over there? It's muddy. See that? See how soft it is in this side? See how the sand is? I'm like, okay. He's like, when I was younger, or a few years ago, I didn't run anywhere near that fast, and the course was so much faster. So I'm like, okay, but it's cross country, right? So that's the beauty of it. Like you can run, you can't. It's not the track, right? And so if you
Exactly.
want the track, race the track, right? But
Yeah.
with cross country, you're not
The
going to be
conditions
comparing
are
times like
different.
that.
Yeah, like from day to day the conditions are different. Like
Yep. Yep.
which is like that's part of it. Like that's part of the race is you're not only racing, everybody else, but like you got to race the course, you got to race the conditions.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's one of those things um, like my PR in cross country from college was like 26:11. Like you're you're running that fast right now and you're 40, man. Like and that was at John Bryant. Like that was no easy course. Like
Again,
it's
yeah,
a decent
you
course.
you can't compare the courses. That
Can't compare
26:11
it.
might have been way faster on this course. You can't.
I don't know, man. I think I got like third or fourth in that race. So
There you go. There you go.
but anyway, so from what you remember, like high school training, college training compared to what you're currently doing, or maybe even like what you were doing, um, you know, 5, 10 years ago. Like, how has your training differed, and how is it? stayed the same.
Oh, okay. So, um, in the last 2 years, I would say 2019 was my last good year because it was everybody's last good year prior to COVID, right? So, um, 2019 was a really strong year for me. Heavy mileage, consistency, like was key, like throughout the entire year. I'll remember 2019 because I had limited days off, like I want to
Hmm.
say less than 10 days, maybe even less than 7 days off for the whole year, right? So
Wow.
just able
Hmm.
to keep training, balance recovery with through, taking it easier on the run rather than just taking a whole day off or a whole couple days or even a week off kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, so basically that was like the last year of youth, I would say, because getting into it, back into it, 2021 and even 22, like now, um, it's different in that the body does not handle the same type of mileage it used to. I used to thrive off of those like high mileage weeks, and always try to push it just a little bit more each time, get a squeeze out an extra 5 out of this workout, right?
Hmm.
Or make my long run, even longer. Um, but nowadays it's all about obviously training smarter, not harder, right? And like for
Hmm.
me, that can't be through heavier mileage. I'm just not able to, maintain that kind of mileage. I also don't have that kind of time available anymore. I don't know where that time went, but it's not easy to get all those hours set aside to run twice a day and then do all the recovery stuff afterwards. And that's probably part of it, is like you have to do so much other non-running things that you have to focus on to stay moving,
Hmm.
stay healthy, that you don't have the kind of time to just, I'll just whip out 10 really quick here and be back in an hour or whatever.
Hmm.
So the mileage is evident that had to change. Again, the non-running stuff has become more essential. Not
Hmm.
just sleep, but like, and eating healthy, which has always been okay for me. But the uh, the exercise routines and the stretching,
Hmm.
is just important because I found that as being a weak spot for me because I didn't really need it before, right? I was able to just bounce back. I was like,
Hmm.
okay, don't worry. Oh, that's just soreness. I'll just have it burn off that soreness in the first few reps of this next workout.
Yep.
Um, it was no big deal, but nowadays it's like, um, you're hoping to wake up not in pain, not hobbling around, right? And so the best thing you can do is like treat your body well after you break it down the day before,
Sure.
and focus on that recovery effort. So it's um, it's a new realm for me because I'm learning. Like I'm learning what this body will, you know, like and what it'll manage, and things that I used to do, like you said, 5 years ago. Um, they won't hold up. Like I'm not able to manage, more than 2 workouts a week. I can't do a
Hmm.
lot of up tempo, get on my, high knees and get up on my toes and do a lot of sprinting stuff. Like that'll just burn me out, if not break me. So I gotta
Yeah.
like be really careful and ease into it.
Hmm.
So it's much different.
Hmm. So, what kind of mileage were you doing in college? Like roughly?
So yeah, mileage in college was probably between 80 and 100, maybe
Hmm.
110 here and there. Never really much higher. Post collegiately, always kind of pushed it beyond 120, and then I
Wow.
found I found like really in the peak of my marathoning career, like 140 was good for me. Like just staying consistent with those morning runs, getting that out of the way, making the workouts, long warm up, do the workout, long cool down, and then
Hmm.
obviously long runs on Sundays. Making sure that those were always there.
Hmm.
So 140 was basically my peak training period. A few weeks in or whatever, and then obviously tapering for races and whatnot. So that was kind of like the what the body could easily manage day in and day out.
Wow.
Nowadays, if I'm like at about 100-ish, that's probably as good as it gets. I'm not going to try to do 140 anymore. I'm not there. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different body, a different time in life. So
Yeah.
um, I don't focus on the mileage. I try not to. I've never really like, always said I had to hit a number to be fit or anything.
Hmm.
I'm taking it as the body feels, but also trying to balance it with like, oh, well, the body feels like it needs another day off or another run off or whatever. I'm like, no, I'm trying to keep that consistency. I'm trying to run daily, trying not to
Hmm.
skip days. I just am not like religious to the point where it's like I have to do morning run and evening run every single day. Um,
Hmm.
no, that's not going to happen. So, couple double days in a week, but not stressing it if I miss them.
Nice. Yeah, I'm hitting about 40 miles a week right now, but all just one run per day. At some point, I want to see how fast I can get doing this because I know I can get this amount of mileage pretty consistently, and it fluctuates. Like sometimes I'm like high 20s and sometimes I'm low 40s, but I'm usually right around 35 to 40, which I'm like, okay, like that's, you know, during track season in college, that's probably about how much I was getting in mileage wise. But yeah, like you said, I'm not trying not to be so focused and so locked in on like I have to get this amount of mileage. I just at the end of the week I kind of tallied up just to see like, hey, oh, I was right around 40 again. So I think that's for me right now. That's pretty good. If at some point I'm going to increase mileage, it's probably going to have to come from uh, adding in another run, and
Hmm.
I just don't know if I want to do that right now.
Yeah.
But uh, I'm super impressed that you're still hitting triple digits, man. That's awesome. That's really cool. So everybody wants to know, man, what's the secret to a long running career? How have you done it?
Yeah. Um, that's not a very hard answer, really. You have to enjoy it. Honestly, I've
Mm,
enjoyed it. It's been fun for me. It's been exciting. I've gotten the thrill out of it. Like, I feel like people lose that because they get tired, they get burned out, or they don't feel any value in doing it anymore.
mm,
I've always enjoyed the sport. I've always enjoyed the exercises. I've always enjoyed the thrill of being able to run fast. And so that'll probably always stay with me. I think even like when I'm not running competitively, I'll always enjoy the aspects of running, where it can take me, where I can go with it,
mhm,
how I can get there faster. You know, it's always something I've enjoyed, and there's just so many different aspects that make it fun, whether it's the people you meet along the way or the traveling and the places it takes you to, um, or the personal goals that you set forth, the scenery sometimes just like hitting a trail and like I want to run to the top of that mountain today, and then you
mhm,
get up there, you're the only one there, and you're just like, how cool is this? Like, I
mm,
get this all to myself because I'm the only one who dared to run up here in this cold weather day, and it's like,
mhm,
how cool, right? And I've always felt that even before the times of having to Instagram everything or post it or whatever, right? I
mhm.
didn't need to take the pictures on a phone. I could always just take that mental picture and remember like this was worth it, right?
Yep.
So anyway, I've always enjoyed that. So that's what's kept me going, and I've had a lot of fun with it, and I'll continue to do it. So long as it's not a burden or a drain, or it doesn't
Mhm,
negatively affect social life, family life, other things as well. Um, so that's kind of the easy answer. The more physical responses is just again figuring out that okay, I'm still a learner of the sport, especially in this stage. Um, you think you have all the answers because you've done it for a while. You have some answers, right? You know how to like get to races, and you kind of know what you generally have to do
mhm,
training wise to be fit, but the specifics is where you get to learn all over again. Like, oh, this was the workouts that these were the workouts I used to be able to do to get race ready. Now I'm at a stage where I can't do those kind of things, but I can still do some type of workout, right? Or I can do
mhm,
so many reps, just not as many, right? Um, and so you just have to adjust it, and you're learning, and you're like, okay. So for me in 2022, this has been a year of like trying to understand more about like the non-running essential stuff. Like I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
I better start taking certain vitamins, or I got to start taking like pay attention to this. I got to do bands, ropes, and all these other exercises and squats
Hmm.
and things I don't pay attention to because like little weaknesses form over time that you were able
Hmm.
to like brush off before, but now it's like that's a game changer for me at this time, right? Like if I don't strengthen these muscles, right, or if these are too weak, like I'm just gonna pull something and I'm gonna end up like sore or hurting the next couple of days. So like a lot more active stretching, a lot more exercises, just things that like I'm figuring out, work for me, and everybody's different, right? But these are the things that I've been focusing on, and they get me more mentally back into it. Like I
Hmm.
see the challenge in front of me. It's a different challenge from trying to run against the clock. And now it's all about like trying to complete these other exercise routines and then come back tomorrow and then be able to do that hard workout. Right. So
hmm.
um, that's the physical aspect of keeping me going, I guess.
Yeah. So the uh, the process, like all of that stuff, was something that I didn't really care for in college. Like for me, it was all about racing fast
Mm-hmm.
and and beating records or setting PRs. Like that was it. So um, when when I couldn't really do that anymore, or when I wasn't mentally in the state of mind where I thought that I could do that anymore, I was like, well, running is done for me. Yeah, I still want to coach it. I still want to watch it. I still want to be around it. But for me personally, I'm just not going to lace up and get any more miles. I just don't think that it has anything more uh, use for me. Right. And so it took me getting back to like actually coaching it where I was like, man, it's like there's no secret to getting faster. It's just building. Uh, Really, it's like it's just a pattern that you can essentially repeat. So my physiology background, and the way that the human body adapts is by repeat exposure to the same stimulus. It's like you apply a stress to the body, and then at first it's like gonna fatigue and it doesn't know how to deal with it. And then you remove that stress, you let the body recover, and then you reapply that stress, and the body is a little bit better at dealing with it once it's seen it a few times, right? So getting faster is really all about building that process where you apply that stimulus and then you remove it and the body recovers, and then you apply the stimulus and then you remove it, and so on and so forth. And so it was, for me, kind of getting back to understanding like what are all these different types of stimuli that
Mm-hmm.
I need to put into a training program for my athletes so that so that they get better. Like what is all that? And it was kind of relearning some of that stuff that I already knew, but really applying it to my own training where I was like, you know what, if I'm going to put my athletes through this, I need to experience it again as well. And it was at that point that I was like, okay, I'm going to do everything except the long run because I hate long runs. And that's what I did. And so instead of a long run, I was doing 3 hard workouts a week. And I learned pretty quickly. You know what? That's too much. My body just can't handle that. I can't do that. So I had to make some changes, and I had to reevaluate whether I wanted to tell my kids that, you know what, you guys have to go for a long run, but I'm special. I don't have to. And so,
Yeah.
so I started doing the long run, and I still don't like it, but I understand, like, you know what, it's part of the process, and the process I like. So the long run itself, no thanks. I'm still going to do
Mm-hmm.
it. But um, so, so like, is it that process of just not just like checking off boxes, but like almost treating the process like a game? Are you like gamifying everything that you do so that like everything's a little bit of a competition, like, or is it just like what's your like mindset with all of this extra stuff that you now have to do in order to continue running?
Yeah, I think I just got to sort of a tipping point in staying healthy. Like I feel like I was starting to have more and more troubles with um, certain things that never bothered me before. Primarily Achilles were starting to hurt, and so
Hmm.
I had surgery several years ago on one of them. It was like the first time I'd really ever been injured and not able to continually run. The rehab from that and the full recovery took a very long time afterwards. And I ever felt if I ever had to do the same thing to the other one, I'd just be done for good.
Hmm.
And so now that other one had begun, well, in the last couple of years, it got to that point where it was like a tipping point. Like I've got to get this operated on. I was like, if I do it, I'm done. Like I can't. It'll take forever to recover from. And so um, instead, I focused all my efforts on doing everything possible to either push that further down the road or
Hmm.
avoid it entirely. And
Hmm.
as a result, like I focused on all kind of other remedies and treatments and therapy and exercises. And through those other things, I was able to like effectively start running without the extreme pain that I had been in. And so now it's kind of like um, it's the only saving thing at this point. So like if I don't focus on these other things, I feel like that's just going to flare up again, and it will be, it'll put an end to running. So um, the last couple of years I was like debating, I was trying to figure out, am I even going to make it to the master's age, right? Because like
Hmm.
because things were really starting to get really hard to run pain free, and I'm like, I'm slowing down anyways and I'm running with pain, like what's the point, right?
Hmm.
So my motivation is not like trying to hit so many of these reps or um try to make a competition out of it. It's really like do this or you're done, right?
Hmm.
If you like to run, right, and you want to continue it, then you got to focus on these other things. So that's really been the driving factor for me. So um it always helps, right? If you do have a little bit of like oh, let's try to do some extra core here today, let's do a few extra reps. I couldn't do 5 of these types of reps before, right?
Hmm.
That's for anybody, really. I mean, anybody in the gym can relate to like maybe pushing out one more, two more, whatever reps. So uh, you know that kind of maybe helps in the moment, but the driving factor is really like this is what's going to get you to that next running workout. And you miss too many of these, and you risk flaring up something else. So
Hmm.
you got to pay a lot of attention to all the stuff, all the little things that didn't used to matter as much.
Hmm. So what's a typical hard workout day look like for you right now?
Um, Good question. So usually the workouts are I've always had a few key workouts. The primary two each week is usually a tempo type effort and a fartlek or interval or rep type workout. So they're kind of interchangeable, but those are usually the primary two. So they kind of vary, but basically my one of my most go-to ones is probably in the build up stage is a fartlek of 3 minutes on, 90 seconds off, and I will start at like 8 reps and then work up to 10 and then 12, and generally up to 15 is about where I stopped. I've gone as far as 20 before, but that's a long day and a long run. It'll
Hmm.
you put a lot of miles when you're doing 20 by a K essentially, and that's the goal is like try to run them about K pace or 3 minutes in a K. So
Hmm.
um, so yeah, that's the one workout, and then the other one is a tempo effort. So whether that breaks into like 2 by 5 miles or like a straight 10, or straight 8 or something like that. Just as long as you're getting that long, higher intensity, tempo effort in.
Hmm.
That's the other workout. Aside from that, there's a few other ones that get mixed in there. Certainly as you get trying to get more race sharp. I'll throw minutes in, minute on, minute off kind of thing. So do several
Mhm.
reps of that just to get, the gear turnover and
Mhm.
get up on your toes a little bit more. But those are the three primary ones I would say that get me through it. But I still take workouts from my coach. I still
Mhm.
see what he is passing to the rest of the team. He's got several years of experience and seeing what has worked and what hasn't. And so I definitely rely on that expertise to kind of help guide and also provide a fresh change to the workout. So I'm not always necessarily doing the exact same two workouts every week. So I do appreciate, again, somebody else doing all that kind of groundwork for me, and makes it a little easier for me to just look at it and be like, okay, and I'll adjust
Mhm.
these for my time, right? This is the effort that needs to take place, and focus on the effort, not the actual time, because um, winds and weather and everything else
Mhm.
can play a factor, right? Certainly the course, if you're running around hills, that can change things as well. So, um,
Mhm.
yeah, those are kind of what my workout days. Mileage wise, the workouts will be anywhere from like 11 to 17-ish miles generally for
Mhm.
that workout.
Mhm.
And Yeah, long runs are, you try to get 18 to 22, and that's pretty standard, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah,
Nice. Yeah, it's not where I'm at, but it's really nice.
but you
But
can
it's
get there.
that's probably true. If I wanted to. But like you said, it's the effort. So, but it's nice. I had this this conversation on my last podcast where I was like, I love that in the sport of running, like you can just ask somebody like, hey, what's your workouts? Like, what are you doing? And like when I was in high school, like I don't know if it was because I didn't know what I was doing, or the people that I was asking, like they didn't know what they were doing, but like it all just felt very like, well, I'm not going to tell you. It's a secret. Like I
Mm,
don't want I don't want you running as fast as me. Like, but I think kind of everybody understands like you can have the blueprint in front of you of what, someone else does for their workout, but like you still have to do it. Like you still have to put in the work, and it's you have to put in that effort. Because you can run the exact mileage, you can run the exact times, but there's no guarantee that on race day that's going to equate to to a win or to beating the other person. So, um, but it's just one of those things like people want to know. People want to
yeah,
know what everybody else is doing, just because it's interesting, because it's fun to know.
sure.
So.
Yeah, I think the best people to ask, honestly, are probably the coaches, and a lot of coaches are being transparent about it, which is great. But those are the ones that have seen how it works, and it's not just generally like one person that they coach, right? They probably coach several athletes, and so they can see like how well it's received, how well it's implemented, like,
Mhm.
and they tweak it as needed, right? You ask the athlete, they're going to give you like, well, I did that in the wind on a hill in that day. That's why the times were slow, like, and that's what worked for me. I was having a rough time, or I didn't get a lot of sleep, or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
it's not necessarily great to hear it just from a single athlete. I feel like somebody that works with those athletes might have a better sense as, here's the blueprint, right? This is what
Mhm.
I have found that has worked time and time again for athletes. um, I wouldn't be the best one to say, that this is the gold standard, the key to getting fast.
Sure.
Um, I can provide some information just based on my years of experience doing it
Mhm.
in my life, right?
Mhm.
But I feel like, yeah, the if you want the such a blueprint, right, you're probably going to get the most accurate response from a coach.
Mm.
So
Nice. So, what plans do you have for the rest of this year, for the next couple years? Like, what do you have rolling around
yeah, good
up there?
question. I need to answer that. I was just talking with my wife today about it. I was like, we don't have anything on the calendar. We got to get some stuff on here. So we got to figure out what weekends aren't gonna, conflict with, kids' baseball games or other things, and see what we can make happen, and places we might want to go to, right? So,
Hmm.
I think the goal is a spring marathon, and I'm getting on the verge of deciding that here soon. And
Hmm.
then, um, I'm also trying to weigh that with the potential of other U.S. Masters Championships, right? I got to do one, which is
Hmm.
great. So that's a good start for the year, but like there's a whole circuit of them. How many of those do I want to travel to? Because they're all across the country, ranging in,
Yep.
distances from 5K to 10 and a half to full or whatever. So do I want to pick those? Or do I want to pick like a bigger name marathon, right? You got to balance all that
Hmm.
stuff because um, I'm not 26 anymore. I can't just run a marathon like every few weeks or once a month or whatever. Um,
Hmm.
one or two a year tops. But even that much, I got to be super selective with.
Hmm.
And um, so yeah, I got to do some research. Other than that, uh, no other big goals. It's um, not a big, critical year right now. I haven't
Hmm.
even thought about the Olympic trials. I mean, to make an appearance and say, yeah, one more, right? I haven't even thought about trying to pursue that standard just yet. Again,
Hmm.
it's the focus of just having fun and seeing where you're at and how competitive you can be at this stage. So yeah, that's about all I know right now.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Regardless, so for anybody who's watching or listening, if they want to stay on top of figuring out like if you what race you do decide to run, what marathon you do decide to do, how can we find you? How can we follow you? How can we make that happen?
Yeah, certainly. So I'm part of the HOKA Aggies Running Club. HOKA sponsors us two clubs in the U.S. basically right now, and one is our club, and they are pretty good about keeping up with all upcoming events and then covering results afterwards. So you can find that not so much on the website. The website you can find just background information, but you want more current stuff. The Facebook and Instagram accounts are updated more regularly. So read all about where we're racing, which places we're going to, which events are coming up. You'll see workouts and other things in there
Awesome.
by other teammates. And so that's probably the best way. I know people follow a lot of our athletes, including myself, on Strava. So you can always see like what workouts we're doing and maybe get a sense as to like if we include it in there where we're going or what races we're going to run. But
Hmm.
yeah, I would definitely say following our club's Instagram accounts, will give you the best indication of where the team's headed and what we're competing in and that type of thing. So
Hmm.
aside from those primary sources, yeah, I would say you can always just message me and say, hey, are you thinking about this marathon or have you decided on one? I'll be open. I'll let you know if that's where I'm going. So
Awesome.
see you there.
Sweet. That's great. Well, Sergio, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Yeah, like when I first started at Cedarville, like every time I'd walk into the indoor field house, Coach Bolender had like this like essentially a bulletin board with all the indoor and outdoor records and with all of the previous national champions and like like seeing your name and seeing your records up there like is definitely um like that sort of thing is inspirational to people who want to run faster, right? So just wanted to say that you know I appreciate the hard work that you did because that in turn pushed me to work hard, when I was in college. So, and it's still extremely inspirational, to see you out getting it done now. So, best of luck the rest of this year. Maybe in a couple years, if you're looking to put together a CU alum cross country team and maybe we can make that happen. I'm just saying.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
I'm planning on still running at that point. So maybe we win Masters or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so
I don't know.
call you up when you hit 40 is what you're saying, what you're
That's what I'm
telling me.
saying.
All right. Well, I'll have to give you my exercise routine to keep you healthy,
Please
because it's
do.
going to take a lot more than just going at it that with what you know so far. There's some new curveballs that lie ahead. So yeah, for
Okay.
sure,
Well,
definitely. And if we're
well,
ever at the same race, don't hesitate to call me up.
sounds good, man. Sounds like a plan. Sweet. Alrighty, y'all. Well, go follow HOKA Aggies and keep track of Serge and all the rest of his teammates. And thanks for watching and listening. And stay tuned for next week's episode. Adios, y'all.